I would encourage you to try to change your reference point, to change who you're listening to change what you are taking in. Because the minute you start to expand that, there's a whole world of possibility that opens up that you didn't know was in front of you.
Welcome back to another episode of Voices of the Goddess, where brilliant women come to take a break from their successful and sometimes overwhelming lives to level up, live free, and create abundance.
If your hectic life has you feeling a bit lost, if you're building your career, brand, or business, or if you simply want to get the most out of life, this podcast is for you. I'm your host, Juliana Wenzel, founder of Body and Soul PT and Soul Candy.
And I'm your co-host, Graciela Laurent, professional portrait photographer specializing in boudoir and personal branding.
Whether you're relaxing with a cup of coffee or running around town, we've got you.
Whatever you're doing, thanks for bringing us along and sharing a laugh.
Here comes the magic. Hello, everybody. Hello, Graciela.
Hello, Julieta. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
That's very peppy. You sound up and awake. This is good.
The whole daylight savings transition thing can make things a bit odd, but I don't know. I woke up super early this morning, full of energy. Life is good.
Nice. I felt like waking up early, but my bedroom is like a dungeon. It's very, very dark. And so I have, as much as I would love to wake up like with the sun and the birds and things like that, my partner loves the dungeon life. So he locks everything down and my room is pitch black. So I don't wake up until I need to.
That's so funny. It sounds like, so I watched this movie, I'm pretty sure on Netflix this weekend, called Far Away. In the reason, like, I thought of this. So this German woman, her mother dies and she inherits this tiny little house on a Croatian island, and the house like has no windows, and apparently like the person, this other character in the movie, he's like, no, you have to keep the sun out because it's so hot, and they don't have air conditioning, so you don't want the sun out. And she's like, I want the sunshine. And the next scene, she's got a big what do you call those? Not a jackhammer, but like a sledgehammer. She's got a sledgehammer. She's got her goggles on, and she's just knocking out a hole in the wall to let sunshine into this like adorable like little cottage kind of thing with the view of the ocean. Wow. And I'm watching this going, yes, please.
I love rooms filled with light. Like, I really do.
Well, I like rooms filled with light other places in the world. So I am like declaring to the universe that my new goal in life is to become a planetary nomad. Like, I want to be free to roam about the planet because I'm a Sagittarius. Like, I've done a lot more traveling than many people, probably not more traveling than our guest. But having lived abroad, traveled abroad, like, it's really like itching under my skin. So I got to figure out how to make life work that way.
Well, all possibilities, right? You just got to crack that code.
Well, I think this movie is called Far Away, and but then there's also like Eat, Pray, Love, like all of those, movies about going and living in another country. There's something about that awakens pieces inside of you that you never knew existed. I always say, like, the greatest thing that happened in my life that has shaped who I am today was living abroad, living in Venezuela for a year. I wouldn't recommend that to anybody right now, but Venezuela was a different place back in 1986 when I lived there. And just, you get to learn the world around you, but I also think that ultimately reflects and allows you to see the world within you. And
listen, if there were ever a time to live that life, it's now, right? Like, we have so much access through the digital world. You could literally have careers that weren't even possible. You could take your following and do what you do anywhere in the world. You really could. It's just putting it out there, right?
I do have to find a little bit of a different do what I do, because as a physical therapist, the majority of that involves touching people and putting my hands on people. And there's licensing stuff that like gets in the way of just putting.
If you're a physical therapist, but if you're just an energy worker,
So yeah, we'll see. We'll explore.
I'm excited that there's more ahead. That's the fun part.
Right? All right. Are you ready for a guest?
Let's do it.
All right. Here we go. Hello, Juliana. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Sagittariuses, unite.
Are you a Sag too?
Nice.
When's your birthday?
December the 17th.
Okay. I'm December 1st. So nice. So, well, that explains a lot now. I mean,
it explains the travel, right?
There you go. I love your chair. It is the coolest ever.
Right? It's my throne.
Totally.
It's totally thrown but I'm not going to lie. When I first saw it, I was like, it reminds me of The Voice. Like I'm ready for her to like hit her button. Although I don't think either Graciela or I are going to sing.
We'll spare you that. It looks futuristic to me. That's what I first saw. I was like, oh, this reminds me of like, I don't know, some outer space something or another. You look like you're on a command center of some sort.
I wish it swiveled. That would be amazing. But you know what? For me, what attracted me is it has that sort of, that whimsical 1890s sort of steampunk H.G. Wells when they were thinking of the future and the hot air balloons. And, that's what attracted me to that futuristic idea from the past. So, yeah.
Love it. So before we digress too much, please introduce yourself to our audience and tell them a little bit about what you do and what keeps you passionate about doing it.
Yeah. So as you said, it's Juliana Dever. And for a while now, I've had a travel blog, Clever Dever Wherever, but I sort of segued into creating cultural immersion tours. And that I'm very passionate about that because I've traveled to, at this point, I think 61 countries. I've lived in 4, and travel is a huge passion for me because it really does, like you were saying, it opens up so many doorways inside yourself, and it also connects you to other cultures. It allows you to see how other people think, what they do, and this, you bring all those ideas home, and it can be absolutely transformational. But I also know, especially in the United States, we don't travel abroad as much as other countries do. And I know sometimes we get a bad rap for that, but in all fairness, we are a massively large country, and it's expensive to get out of our own country, and it's far away. And for us, there's so much unknown, that you don't know, maybe the language, the food, just the cultural differences. So I really love to be that bridge because I'm not fearless by any means, but I am so travel is in my soul. So I will go anywhere. I go by myself quite often, but that's why I started creating tours, because I want people to not have to think about any of those things that make you nervous. Just, show up, meet me. I'm on the other side, and you're going to go into people's homes. You're going to meet women who start businesses, little tiny businesses in small villages that don't get all of that mainstream tourism, the dollars, the attention, and you'll just meet people and connect, and you'll go home feeling like that country's a part of you, and it's life-changing.
That's really exciting. I read in your bio that you've lived in 4 different countries. Is that right?
That's true, including Russia, in fact. It's always kind of interesting to think about now, like the places that maybe strike your fancy and how the world ebbs, flows, changes, countries become available, they become unavailable. So to have any of those experiences, to me, it's such a privilege and a gift. But yeah, I've lived in Greece, I've lived in France, I've lived in Russia, United States, and now my husband and I have a home in Portugal.
I've heard Portugal is like the latest and greatest. You're like the 3rd person I've heard that's moving to Portugal. What's up with Portugal?
I can only really answer for myself. So, for us, it really is a matter of, the one thing that I do notice about a lot of European countries is long-term living there. Sometimes, to become part of the community in some areas, they can be more insular. And Portugal, just always, every time you're there, everyone that I meet is very welcoming, very friendly. We endeavor to speak the language. We have friends in our village immediately. We have friends that we celebrate holidays with. It just, you feel connected on a human level, invited, included, and there's not so many obstacles in terms of actually having a life there, because there's a lot to going to a grocery store and not being able to speak the language at all, or needing medical care. And so Portugal just feels like a very safe, very warm, a very embracing community where if you're going to get back what you put in.
Beautiful.
I love that you emphasize a lot the connection. And that was the exchange program that I went to Venezuela with back in 1986. It was created by World War I and World War II ambulance drivers. Their thought process was that if we actually got to meet and befriend people in other countries of the world, that we would never want to go to war with them. And, back in 86, traveling internationally was, a very different thing than what it is today. Also, today with the internet, we see everything that's happening all around the world all of the time. So it's easy to know what's going on there, but to actually go there and immerse yourself in the culture and become friends with the people that are there. Like right now, what's going on in Venezuela, like it just devastates me. My heart hurts for them so bad because, it was home for me. And, I pray for them and hope for the best. And, but yeah, even what you're doing, like it's at a different level, but creating connections between people from different cultures is, I truly believe, one of the things that is going to help elevate this planet and get everyone to realize that we are all one. We're humans on Earth, and it's not us and them, or them and you, and it's we, and we're all one. So
absolutely.
And the fact that like everything, I'm not fearless either, but I love experiencing new cultures, new food, new everything. Yes, bring it on.
Yeah, especially the food.
Well, this all sounds very daunting for someone that isn't in the travel world. And I don't know, were you born a traveler? Like, how did you get there? Did you have a limiting belief you had to let go of to be able to create the life that you have today?
Well, I'm Sagittarius, so I was born a traveler. What's so funny is I was born in a small, at the time, smaller suburb of St. Louis, and no one in my family even had passports. Nobody traveled, with the exception of my two grandfathers who were in World War II. That was the extent of the type of travel that they were doing. So it wasn't even anything no one talked about it. No one did it. And I was just that oddball child. I came out doing two things: acting and dreaming about travel. And sometimes I would write plays about traveling. Dorothy, the Wizard of Oz, was my avatar, because somehow she was able to go places like all over the world and hang out with other cultures, make friends, build community, brave her fears, conquer them. I was like, I am going to be Dorothy. So my family thought I was crazy. They had no idea where any of it was coming from. Oddly, there was no limiting belief on that. In fact, when I was old enough, it was probably my third legitimate job was at an airline in St. Louis. And so I started flying right away. Like that was I was just drawn to that. So, and I had my first international trip. It was all just like, it was like I had already done it all before. I was
just going to say, you sound like you're talking about a previous life that you were kind of you picked up where you left off kind of thing. Like,
yeah. And it's crazy because, and so much, not only was no one in my family, had they ever really traveled outside of Missouri, the thought of leaving the country was so terrifying for them. And it's crazy to me because of all the limiting beliefs that I have picked up from my family, that wasn't one of them. It just was never a block. It never stood in my way. It never occurred to me that I couldn't afford to do it, or I didn't have the time to do it, or it was too scary. I just jumped in. So, and it's funny because I wish I had that with some other things that mean quite a bit to me, but for travel, just do it.
Beautiful.
So if you haven't heard, Graciela and I are creating a library for all of the goddesses out there. And we would like to know, what book do you recommend we add to this library that you think everybody should read, and why?
I feel like you probably already have all the books. I like.
We think that, and we get new books
every time. Yeah.
all the time.
Really? Okay. Well, I do read. I actually make a practice to read 10 minutes every single morning of something that will help me with my mindset for the day. And the one that I read recently, it's called "Universe is Talking to You." Do you know this one?
No.
No.
See? No.
I saw you going. No. This one, it's by Tammy Mastrobert is her name. And it's really fascinating because it kind of helps guide you in seeing signs, and to understand that those synchronicities aren't just like, oh, that was a weird coincidence, but to identify and to help give you exercises to open yourself up to see the signs, to see the synchronicities of the universe talking to you, and to get closer in touch with your guides, universe, source, whatever that may be. And so I really enjoyed it. It's something I usually go back in and read these books 2 or 3 times, because that first time it's just new information. The second time you're like, oh, maybe by the third time it starts to click. So I that was the one that I had read recently that I enjoyed.
Sounds
That's
like a
so
keeper.
Yeah, that sounds really good. I like that it has exercises. You piqued my interest there, because usually you hear it and you're like, oh, okay, really interesting. But the fact that there's like a exercise to go with it, that sounds efficient. I love that.
It's great. And she has a list of different guides that you would want to talk to for different things. One of the things that she said that I thought was pretty fascinating was, she makes this assertion that you can speak to any spirit, any guide on the other side. And so for me, like as an actor, it's like, why not, she's like, if you were auditioning for comedy, why not, call out Lucille Ball and say, I need your help right now. And I'm like, what, we can do that? So I just think of all the actresses that passed on that I need help. I'm like, this is amazing. I'm not calling all y'all.
It's going to be busy. It's going to
be busy. We're having a party.
I love that.
I love it.
It sounds like what you do is already so exciting. What is next for you? One of the messages that we're constantly repeating is that every time you reach a plateau, every time you reach, a goal, that there's always more. We're always changing. We're always, right? Growth is cyclical. So what's your next secret gift that you want to put out there into the world? And is there something that's holding you back?
Well, I do want to say it's very funny when we started that Julieta talked about Croatia, because I actually scouted for 2 Croatia tours. So it's so very funny that was the specific, and now I also have to watch this movie, by the way. But it's very much about going into more of the hinterlands of Croatia and meeting locals. And again, I always focus female first on small businesses. So any of the money from the tours is directly impacting the local community in a more positive way than just going to a corporate hotel or, a regular restaurant. It's always for me about being with locals. So it's funny. That's sort of on the horizon, but that's in line with what I've already been doing. And I mean, to your question, I don't really think I have any secret passions left. I think I've worked so hard at following all of them, but I really do want to I've spent so much time in the travel sphere, and I really want to turn my attention back to acting. And so in terms of blocks, we're recording this right now after the Oscars last night, and I don't know if you watched any part of it at all. I watched some of the acceptance speeches, and one of the things that I really loved is that all 4 of the actors are all like in their 50s and their 60s and their 70s. And so often Hollywood in the past has been caught up in worshiping youth and discarding people, especially women, when they're no longer like 35. And so to see that once again, we can honor and celebrate and give work to women that are older actors that we thought, well, we're done with you. Yeah. That, you know, that I feel like to see that, it's like the universe saying, you know, don't give up. Like, you know, it's still out there for you. Like, turn your attention back to this, because that is not the block that you were told it was when you first started.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's part of that evolution, right? Is that it to keep going back and to keep, you know, even for me, I'm a photographer. It's what I wanted to do when I was 15. I took a 20-year hiatus, and now I was like, wait a minute, wasn't I passionate about something? And now it's been my career for 10 years, you know? So
amazing.
It has to be everything, I think, in its right time, right? So you're always, I think we're always on the cusp of greatness. Like,
I always think that. And then there's definitely been times where I'm like, well, is it too late? Like, it's so, you know, it's so hard to understand when it's been your passion since you were a kid. And it's like, 20 years have gone by. You're like, what? This is all I've been dreaming of. What's going on? What is the obstacle here? So I do feel very encouraged to see that there are more parts being written for older women, and that they're actually, you know, gaining audiences and being celebrated.
Beautiful.
Yeah. The movie, you'll have to watch it, but it is a woman. I would say she's in her 50s, that, you know, when her mom passes away. And so to see her go and just like embrace, it's like embracing life anew. I don't want to give away too much of the movie in case people want to watch it. But I also, you know, speaking to the whole age thing and is it too late? And I feel like that is a belief system from the generations before us that we are squashing, because we've talked about this on past episodes. Like, our parents like chose a career that they were going to get into and work until they were, you know, retirement age, and then they retire. And, you know, nowadays just so many people are just having new career after new career. You know, it's like, okay, what's next? And I don't think it's ever too late to do anything. You know, I feel like if a woman in her 80s decided that she wanted to start acting now, like, go for it. Like, there will be something up for you.
Well, I think Iris Apfel, I think, just turned like 90 or 100 or 101 or something like that. I think it was 101.
Who is this?
Iris Apfel. She's like the, I think they call her the unintentional or the accidental icon. She's 101. She has white hair. She wears big, dark glasses.
Oh, yeah.
She's always on social media, but she's like extra fabulous. I think now she's doing area rug commercials. Like,
oh my goodness.
This is what I'm saying.
Good for her.
And I think that part of it is also like, some things are better in different seasons of your life, right? Like, there's some advice there that you want from a 50-year-old and I don't want from a 20-year-old. And then there's some inspiration that I want from a 20-year-old that I don't want from a 40-year-old, right? Like,
right. And that idea now that we can listen to all voices, where I think, you know, there was definitely a time when it was, you know, it was set up like, these are the voices you listen to and these are the ones that are the experts. And now we're like, none of this has to be true. You're crazy. Like, and understanding, because of course, you know, in any profession, any industry, there's people that have been set up. Maybe they've had a lot of experience, or for whatever reason, they're at the top. And there was a story that I recently read about the woman who started It Cosmetics. I was listening to a podcast she was on, and she was on the cusp of finally getting into stores, and she met with this man who could have changed everything for her. And in the end, he said no. And then she asked why. And he's like, women don't want to buy from a woman that looks like you with your weight. And then cut to, you know, how many years later, and she was the first person to sell a makeup brand for $1 billion. And the best part of that whole story was that he actually wrote her on the day that L'Oreal bought her company and said, I was wrong.
Wow. And
so it's that like that was just like a massive like aha for me, that so often we, you know, if someone that's in charge tells us you ain't got it, you're like, oh, well, they must know. And you let someone else tell your story.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, we don't have to listen to the experts? We can just say, I don't believe you. Because she said in that moment, she had a knowing. She wasn't even offended. She had a knowing that he was wrong. And I was like, I didn't know we had this power. This is amazing.
You just literally hit our mission statement like nail on the head, right? That we have everything we need inside of us, and we're all looking for permission of some sort. And the real gift is when you realize you don't need permission to do anything, right? Like,
right.
You can do whatever you want. You can literally, like, you can make your day exactly what it is that you want to do, you know?
Yeah.
I have a friend of mine that says, I love it because I'll present this like really complicated thing and she'll be like, Graciela, it's just a decision. Like, you just decide, right? Like, you want this to be a reality. Yes. Okay. Then you just decide that that is your reality. And then that's it. Like, the whole process is over. It's done. Just decide.
I'm like, no, that's too easy.
I'm like, I feel like I need to struggle a little bit more.
I'm going to need to overthink this for a while.
Overthinkers Anonymous. Thank you so much.
Woo. Love it. So we've come to our last question, which is, what parting thought would you like to leave with our audience as a little gift for them?
As a gift, a parting thought. Well, I do want to go back to travel because I wholeheartedly believe that it is a key that unlocks so much. Maybe you can't get out of your city, your region, your state, or your country, but I would encourage you to try to change your reference point, to change who you're listening to change what you are taking in. Because the minute you start to expand that, there's a whole world of possibility that opens up that you didn't know was in front of you. And it's the most magical thing. So my parting thought is to please go out there and travel. And you can do it with me. This is why I created my tours. They're almost all women-based. We visit women in other countries. And I've already done everything for you. So if it seems overwhelming and intimidating or just daunting, as you said, Graciela, then don't worry, because I already did it. So come with me. And if it's okay to mention, I also wanted to give your listeners a discount code for my tour this summer. I would love to invite you. I have a few spaces left. This one is to the country of Slovenia. And if you haven't been, you are missing out. It is under the radar. It's on the border with Italy and Croatia and Austria. So it has these Venetian influences. It's got Alpine influences and the Adriatic and ancient Rome. It has everything, but everyone's going everywhere else. So there's no crowds. So
I love no crowds.
I know. And the nature is one of the things that I adore so much and why I go back is the nature is so pristine. And to be among, we'll hike in some of their forests and to be among, like, if you could see if you look up Socha River, which is Soca with a little caret over the C. But if you look up the Socha River, it's just it is clear and turquoise and the mountains, you can see them. It's like pharmaceutical grade oxygen. Like I encourage you, if you want to reconnect with nature, but you also want to reconnect with excellent food and some of the funniest, kindest people, then Slovenia is where you need to go. Plus, then you can say you've been somewhere and people will go, where? But it is for $150 off the tour. And I'll make sure you have the links so you can just read information about it. But the coupon code, the discount code is Goddess150. And that's this summer. You can come with me.
How exciting. I love it. So much to Google. Look, I'm already on my phone Googling.
I love it. And I also did, by the way, I created, because I realized after I've been traveling for 25 years now, and there are so many little things that I realize my audience wants to know. And so I did create a free bundle of a lot of my resources in one thing. It's called the Clever Traveler Checklist Bundle. And you can easily get that. It is absolutely free, but it has like how to create a travel budget and a workbook. And it's got the ultimate vacation countdown checklist. It's got 3 different packing checklists, what to put in your wellness bag, how to be comfortable on a long haul flight, all the things that I've learned over 2.5 decades of traveling. So that's one other piece to just take off your plate so that you can just get to the good stuff. And that link I'll make sure you have that you can put in the notes. So you can just go online, click it, and grab like 10 different kinds of checklists to make your travel easier. So I can take that barrier away from you so you can get out there.
You're preaching, you are talking my language, girl. A checklist, that is a dream come true.
I know, checklist, I know. I love a good checklist.
You're absolutely right, though. I mean, for me, I know that a lot of my hesitation is based in fear. And when you have the list, when you have the thing, when you have the guide, right? Takes all that away so you can just enjoy it. What an amazing gift. I'm so excited that you've created the life that you have.
Thank you. Thank you.
I always go back to this Will Smith YouTube video where he says, you know, everything that you want is on the other side of fear. And like once you experience that one time, like the exhilaration, the joy that comes, just taking one step past your comfort zone, and then it becomes addicting, and then you just
it does. But you know what? And I think the addiction is actually you growing more and more confident, you realizing what you're made of, you know, that because it is, oh, I got the travel bug. Yeah. But if you analyze that at a deeper soul level, because almost everyone will say, oh my God, the travel was so much fun. I don't know why all my dogs are growling simultaneously. Please stop.
They want to go too.
But the idea, because I remember I had a trip, I was going to South America, and I was going to be in the Andes, staying up at 16,000 feet. And I remember just thinking, I just got so nervous on the plane that when I landed from LA to Houston, and then the next one was Houston down to Buenos Aires, and I had a panic attack in the airport. And I've already traveled around. I've already lived in other countries, and I became so afraid that I called my mom, which is something that I never do. And she was no help. She's like, listen to it, get on the plane and go back to LA. And I was like, this is why I never call you. And I was like, no, this is that I know this is fear. And then I finally was able to get a hold of my best friend, who is one of my rocks. And she helped me kind of go through it. Why are you scared? And, you know, you can get on the plane, you're safe, you're going to land. And over the course of the next 3 weeks, while I was in northern Argentina, and we went over the Andes into Chile, and it was one of the best trips. It was one of the, and to go home and know that I did it, and like that was the addiction, because then suddenly you're like, I'm a rock star. I can do hard things, and that's where you start to believe, like you start to understand what you're made of and who you really are, and then you're like, I need more of that. I need more of that.
Beautiful. You're 100% right. You're 100% right.
Woo! What a great show.
I'm excited. I'm coupon coded, loaded up. I'm ready.
Yes. Come with me. Come with me. I love scouting and finding amazing places. I have such glee when I go on trips, because I usually am there on my trips, and I've already met all the people, and we split people up into small groups, and you get to go to their homes for dinner. All these different amazing women, and you feel like you're at a friend's house, and they talk about their life, and it's just, and then I see everyone the next day, and I'm like, how was it? And you just see everyone's faces lit up, and they're pinging with new ideas, and it's just like, I love humans, because we're all we got. So you can pretend we're not connected, but the more you deny that, I think the sadder you're going to be. So just like dig in and just like be so excited about that connection that we all have, because we have the ability to make each other's lives an absolute heaven.
Amen.
When you're talking about that, I just even think about how disconnected we are everywhere here. Like, even if you're not ready to jump on a plane and meet somebody new in a new country, what if you just meet somebody new in your own town? Like,
absolutely. That's exactly, just make those small steps towards shifting your frame of reference. And that means just do something different, and just remember that ripple effect. Even letting someone go in traffic, those little things we talk about all the time, it makes the biggest difference. And then, you know, someone's actually smiling at the next person and the next person. And I know it sounds corny, but those every time we interact is an opportunity to make someone else's day better. So, and then they're going to make someone else's day better. And then you're just gifted with all kinds of new ideas.
You know, I think the magic is in the moments, right? In those little spaces, because we can make really big moves. But man, did you read Matthew McConaughey's Green Lights? I don't know if you read that one.
I did not, but my husband read it, but yeah.
It's a neat little read. And the premise is, as he approached different things in his life, he would hit a green light and he'd be like, boom, let me take advantage of that. And it's always a little thing, right? Like the other day I attended a photography workshop, and this photographer, who's now like a world famous photographer, told a story how she was literally just standing in the right place at the right time. And because of one little 30-second decision, she now works with celebrities. Like, you know, like just one of these things, right? So you know what? Stay open to the moments, because that's where the magic is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And say yes to travel.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Juliana, for being here. I'm so thrilled.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It was great fun.
All right. Have a magical day, everyone. Thanks for joining us today and keeping us in the top 10% of podcasts in the world.
Ask us how you can promote your business on this podcast as a sponsor, and make sure you check out the show notes for details on how to get in touch with Julieta, Graciela, or today's special guest.
We're sending you lots of love and gratitude. Have a magical day.